The views expressed here are those of the authors and do not in any way represent the views of SafeerTV.
Assalamu alaikum, hello and welcome to the first edition of Ladies First. My name is Ruby Soa and I'm joined here by my wonderful and witty panellists, Francesca, Tamara and Kim. Assalamu alaikum, ladies. So let's get stuck in. To abide or not to abide by the law of the land? Muslim women should be allowed to wear the veil in court. Top judges suggest. Lord Neurenberger, the president of the Supreme Court, said that it was critical that courts and judges show and are seen to show respect towards different cultures. How do we feel about this, ladies, especially when it comes to sisters who wear the niqab? Is it important to be able to see your client's face? Or should we just abide by the rules of the land? So when in Rome, do as the Rome do. What do you think, Kim?
I thought this judgment was fascinating and absolutely beautiful to see it coming from one of our most senior judges and quite frankly one of the most formidable judges that we have in the land. He has an amazing career background in the law, formidable commercial lawyer, and he's obviously gone to the highest level that you can go in this profession. Often as a solicitor myself, hijabbed women can have difficulty doing their business at court because it is assumed that we are not professionals. We might be the clients or the people who are coming seeking justice.
Yeah. Should we accept this in a place of law, such as in a courtroom? Is it important for a judge to be able to see the person's face and eyes in front of them?
As a solicitor, when I am cross-examining someone, I would like to see their faces so that I can assess their credibility. If the face is covered, that makes it very difficult for me. And I'm a Muslim woman, I'm saying that. Quite frankly, I would have a difficult job doing it, cross-examining someone who is completely covered. I don't know if I'm dealing with a woman or...
It's interesting that you said that because actually when I was reading about this, one of the female judges, I can't remember her name, but she did actually come out and say there was a family law case and the mother was, they determined that the mother was lying, and the judge said that the way she did that was actually by seeing her face. She did wear a veil and then gave evidence and didn't have a veil, and the judge was saying that that's a very important way of perceiving whether someone is being truthful or not in the facial expressions.
Because my job as a solicitor is to cross-examine a witness to see whether they are telling the truth or not. That's the essence of the credibility of that witness that can make a big difference to the case.
So are we
if I don't see the face, I am not in a position to assess the credibility of this witness or show any things that could undermine their statement.
So are we saying in a courtroom situation, for the sake of argument, that we should follow the laws of the land, and that is to be able to identify who is being present in the court? So are we saying that niqab shouldn't be allowed in a courtroom setting?
I don't think it's as black and white as that. Because the thing is, what people don't realise is that when you are in a courtroom, it is a very pressured environment. You're now asking a woman that normally doesn't display her face to then reveal her face as well. And if you're having to give evidence or you're having to direct your answer to a judge and you're going to be uncomfortable anyway, and now you're being asked to remove what you see as a covering. So I don't think it's quite as black and white as, well, what do we say? Are we yes or are we no? Because I think we need more people to start talking about it. We need people in the community to actually start coming out and saying, right, this is what somebody said, this is the issue we're being presented with. So how are we actually discussing this? How are we working together?
Can I say
maybe find ways to cater for those ladies and help them out, whatever it is.
I mean, I'm sure there are.
When you're travelling abroad, going to any Arab or any other country, quite often they have to get you to take that off to make sure that you are the passport holder you're saying you are. So if you're able to do it in that intense environment, which is quite frightening for a lot of people, I'm sure you can do it in the court.
But I think that's slightly different to giving evidence in a court where you're being asked questions in a very hostile manner. You are it's different going up to a passport window and just sort of lifting it and showing your face, which takes 30 seconds, and being on a witness stand and someone saying, right, I'm going to really throw these questions at you. You're already uncomfortable and now I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's black and white. I don't think it's clear on either side, which it is a problem, but how we move forward with that is a
And how do we feel about it, Tamara? I'm going to just put you out there. when we face with sisters who wear niqab, for example, when I was living in the States, there was a policy in the mosque, in the women's section, that those ladies who decided to wear niqab had to take their niqabs off when they're amongst the other women. And that was because a lot of sisters felt intimidated and uncomfortable by ladies wearing niqab. And there was actually a situation where it was men who were dressing up as women to come into the ladies section. So they had to make a rule, whereas when you're amongst ladies, please can we see your faces? So in those kind of situations, do you have a problem with...
I don't think people should really like dictate to others what they should wear and what they shouldn't wear. It's personal choice. And but I can imagine, like, when it comes to practical matters, like you were saying, some men could be dressed up as ladies and they come in, and then I understand. I don't know. What
about driving licenses? Like in America, there was an issue again with on your driving license, they do need to see your face. And I think they had the same issue in France as well. And going back to the court of law, surely this is an exceptional circumstance, and maybe we need to modify ourselves rather than because it's not everybody finds themselves in court.
It is problematic.
Yes, it is a requirement of the law of the land, and it is a duty for us to obey the law of the land.
And I really don't think that it's again as black as white as that, because sometimes some laws, need to sort of be modified. For people,
not necessarily. How much of our law are we going to change then to accommodate a variety of different cultures having different needs, and that will make us put us in a very difficult situation.
I mean, I saw in the paper it was called the Spaghetti Religious Party, where basically they put a spaghetti strainer on their head, and that is part of their. You can Google it. It's part of their religious practice that they have to have.
The Jedi party, isn't it? Like
I haven't read about the Jedi, but the spaghetti party, where for them it's their hijab to wear spaghetti strainers on the head. So are we saying in the court of law we should accommodate the people who have spaghetti strainers on their head because it's part of their religion?
That makes a mockery of the law of the land that I have grown to respect and love and abide by.
But it's part of their religion. It's registered as a religion.
Well, if it is, then it is. It's just part of society, but multicultural society. I mean, just have to accept it.
I mean, I think this is the thing. I mean, walking into court with a colander on your head, I don't think is going to be causing issues when you give evidence. I think what obviously the issue is here is, there is an identity thing around it. Someone's got their face covered. Also, with the nature of how law is, it's a lot of the way people are coming across, their facial expressions. I think they're...
But isn't it in Hajj, women aren't allowed to wear niqab?
Correct. But although some of the people of Saudi Arabia tend to wear their entire full burqa
while performing Hajj?
That's right, tawaf. And these tended to be royal members of the ruling family because they don't want to be recognized. Although they're quite obvious, because quite often they go doing the circumambulation with their shoes on.
Okay.
Yes. Furthermore, there's other issues in the sense that it is being abused by otherwise unseemly characters who are running away from the law. There was a case of a terrorist who went into the mosque as a man and came out wearing a niqab, and so he ran away. So he's a danger to the world, not just to us here in the UK, but we never know where, if he might show up again and be a very serious threat to us. So, and it's also being used by others who had led a lifestyle of a particular kind, and then now they settled down and got married, and they don't want to be recognized by the people who knew them from that lifestyle background. So it's being abused. Even in that cultural sort of requirement sense, it's being abused. But I'm here as an officer of the court to uphold the law of the land. And the law of the land says we need to be able to obey the law of the land. And the law of the land is an adversarial system whereby we elicit the truth through the process of cross-examination. And where we don't have a face, we just have... I don't know, it's very difficult.
But the beauty of being in England, and I'm really proud of the city that we're in, this country, and the city that is very cosmopolitan, is that we are allowed to express ourselves and we are allowed to follow our beliefs, be it wearing a niqab or not wearing a niqab. Surely the court system should be able to reflect the population and their beliefs in allowing them to wear the niqab.
Well, I think it's a positive. I think the comments that have come out are very positive. I think what it's done is it's allowed it's allowed people to open up and to start to discuss it. I mean, when I was looking into it, I actually didn't find many Muslim people, representatives in the community didn't really say much. I mean, you kind of have a lot of people coming out that dislike Islam anyway and just sort of jump on the bandwagon. But I think it's a good start. I mean, this is a white middle-class man who's a judge, has a very different background to most women that would be wearing a niqab. And the beauty of it is that this is diversity, and this is the respect for that diversity.
I think we also need to acknowledge that for some people it is mustahab for them to be dressed in that way. And what I don't want to come across is that we don't support sisters who choose that lifestyle. We're saying that it's different strokes for different folks. But like you said, I'm very happy that the courts are acknowledging different cultures. Not sure about the Collindale issue on the head. I think I'm going to try that one day just to see what happens. But we're all in agreement that it's a positive move. But from a psychological level, say if you were in a GP office and you're wearing niqab, I would really want to be able to connect with you and seeing the face. For me personally, this is not the views of, I'm sure, the panel. I need to be able to read you. I need to see what's going on in the eyes. Sure, like in the Sikh and Hindu culture, they make an effort not to look at you in the face, even the women, because it's a sign of being humble and modest. But just being able to have that connection, so we're
so used to that. I mean, that is how we operate. We go throughout life. We have conversations with people. You're looking at each other's faces. You are. That is part of being human. Is
your body language, your
it's
expressions.
Looking and okay, I know obviously within our religion, avert your eyes and things like that. But that is part of our society in the way that is a normality for us.
But then you have the flip version where you have people saying, okay, you can see my eyes if I'm wearing niqab, and that shows enough emotion. Where you place your eyes. So do you need to see my nose and my cheeks to be able to get to know me?
Well, me personally, and this is just my point of view, I think it is important to be able to, yes, eyes are very expressionate, but at the same time, mouth movements and cheek, you're smiling. How do I know you're smiling under there? You could be snarling at me.
I'm interested by Tamara's view that she was saying, not that I'm not interested in your view, but when it seems that you're quite open to it, it doesn't really bother you if you have that connection or not with the person who's wearing niqab. What situations have you been in? Because as I said, I find that when I'm around sisters who wear niqab, it does create a barrier for me.
It is a bit awkward, talking to someone and you don't know, like you said, are they smiling? Are they not? I mean, what are they? What are they thinking? But I don't know, because faces, fine, you're looking at the eyes, but it's the whole thing. You read in the face when you're talking to someone. And I always find it as well, like, sometimes you meet some, people on the street and you're just walking past by and you just say, Assalamu alaikum. Okay, you answer back, Assalamu alaikum. But then it always comes to me as like a sudden thing.
So it kind of shocks you when you see them.
Yeah, she's wearing the niqab and she passes by me and she says, Assalamu alaikum. And I was like, oh, okay. She's talking to me, so Assalamu alaikum.
I think for me, like when, because I was on a train and a lady got on and she sat in front of me and she did have niqab on, and I think there's a thing about it. I mean, it's also to do with our own reactions. It's not something I'm used to seeing, actually. So, but she actually started talking to me and we had a lovely conversation, but I couldn't obviously see her face. So I think there's also an element of we're actually not used to. That's not something in society that we see.
But maybe that's something we need to change in ourselves.
I've tested it. When I'm in Sana'a, my brother doesn't require me to put the burqa on. It's called the burqa in Arabic. And he told me, no, you don't have to. You're a British woman. You can be yourself. Do just as you do in London. But then in the streets, every woman is wearing the burqa. If I were to come out without, then everyone would look at me like I'm odd one out. So I wear it as well. And I have seen, I've assessed it. I'm talking to the women and myself wearing it. The relationship, the interaction, the level of communication, the understanding, I promise you, is totally different from when we're at home. Then we've taken off the burqa of our faces. So I've seen the reaction of the faces, how they're communicating. I've tested it, I promise you. That's why, as a lawyer, I thought, no, I'm not comfortable with this business. It doesn't work well.
Well, what do you mean their interaction and their interpretation?
See, like you said, the eyes alone don't tell you everything. Quite often I found that they are talking to me in the streets. I didn't understand what they were saying. And we speak in the same language. And I realized when I went home, maybe because I'm not seeing the whole face, that's why I'm not getting it. Quite often they tell me, oh, Dini, where are you? Did you not hear me? I said, I did hear you, but I couldn't quite
So you don't know where to look.
It did happen, and I've assessed it. I promise you, it does make a difference. Maybe I'll bring my own burqa next time, and I will speak to you with, and I'll speak to you without, and you will see.
Yeah. Put on you right now, like that.
You want the full on?
What I find odd is a lot of the sisters that I see. I have friends who wear the niqab, and I really admire them for wearing it. It takes a confidence to do that, whatever the reasons are. They tend to have a lot of makeup on the eyes, so I'm fixated on the eyes.
Yeah, that's so true. My daughter today, we just were looking, I don't know, online or something, surfing, and then she saw some, the face of a niqabi lady, with a lot of makeup, and she's like, "Mom, what is this? Why is she wearing the niqab if she's going to have that much makeup on her eyes? What's the point of it?"
I think also it's the message that it's sending. When you're in, if I can say, a Caucasian white environment, be it in court or a very professional environment, people can't read you. So when you come with the hijab, it already brings a barrier, but at least by looking at your face and by your body language and how you can talk, you can break down those barriers. With the niqab, they don't know what to get. Are you educated? Have you chosen this? Are you from a particular cultural background? Do you understand what's happening? It's almost like that Harry Enfield sketch with this lady who was in niqab in the shop, and it was a sketch of an American tourist, and they're like, "Are you smiling, Amina? How do we know you're smiling?" And they're taking pictures, and she was completely shocked. So it's very difficult, I think, especially in a professional environment where you see someone physically and you've got all these things, dimensions to think about, their cultural background. Do they understand what's going on? Have they been forced to wear this? Is there other issues? So I think for many people, not just non-Muslims, the niqab brings about so many different reactions, and that we need to process. But I think this is a very big move for judges to say, and it's not only for Muslims, it's for Sikhs, it's for people who dress in a certain cultural way, but that they do need to educate themselves. I just feel that, I don't know, maybe it's being British, but when you're in England or when you're in Rome, do as the Romans do. As long as it doesn't compromise on your Islamic beliefs, then I think you need to have the common sense that you're in an environment, you need to be dressed a certain way. Just like if you're in work, you look at a certain way. You wouldn't come to work in your pyjamas, I would hope. I don't know.
Well,
would you? I don't know. So I think we're all in agreement there that, would you say?
It's a wonderful move, definitely. I have a lot of respect and admiration for him. I always had, and now I've grown even more loving of him. This one of my favorite judges. I'm in property, and he grew out of the property commercial world like me, and so I do respect his judgments. But at the same time, I think there needs to be a lot of educating of the Muslim community generally, because the question is, does the religion require us to do this? If the answer is no, then why are we imposing a cultural thing on a land that we're claiming to be is our land, and we belong, and we are British?
So are you saying it's not mustahab to wear the niqab? I mean,
not as far as I'm aware. I have not seen one narration that says it is required. And in fact, the narrations seem to indicate that it is of the Jahiliyyah time type of practice, and that is
but anyway, regardless, I mean, for some people it's mustahab, or if it's not, outside the court is one thing, inside the court for practical reasons something else.
And it's just come to my head, when you go to Dubai, Westerners, you always see them in the papers that, oh, they didn't follow the law of the land, they're now into trouble, they were meant to go on a beach at this time, they didn't, etc. Should we not use that country as an example as well, when it's expected for you to follow the laws of the land? Maybe when it comes to laws and talking about courts, we should take an example of Dubai and just.
And Saudi Arabia, likewise, women get whipped in the streets if they're walking around uncovered.
They're not necessarily the best examples to follow.
No, and I think also as well, I think what happens is you know, we have a tendency to focus on lots of negative things, and whenever anything happens, people say, oh, we should be doing what, you know, in Dubai, us Westerners don't have to do this and that. And I think we should just, you know, we live in a country where it's very diverse, and we're very fortunate that we can practice these things. And when you start to compare it to other countries and, oh, that's what we should be doing, and that's what we, you know, this law has been built around hundreds of years of things happening, and you know, different movements happening and stuff like that. So I think you kind of have to, instead of looking elsewhere to say, let's do what they're doing,
that we accept for ourselves, rather than looking at others and
you know,
comparing.
So what are we saying? Are we saying yay to the law? Are we saying, well, it's good, but when it comes to certain practices, it needs to be modified? What are we saying? Because this is a very broad statement to, for judges to say we should accommodate different cultures, and it's almost like we're putting the barriers now. They've said they're going to try and accommodate us, and now we're saying, okay, but if it's in the Niqab, no.
Well, I think, like I said, what he said is very helpful, because it shows that the upper echelon of the judiciary is aware. You know, quite often they're accused of being out of touch, unaware of what's happening in society, so they're not fit to be judging people. But his comment does show that they are aware and are prepared to adjust the system itself to accommodate people who are different. That to me is
positive thing.
Yeah, very positive. Very positive.
Just want to say, last point, I was reading in the papers that there was two ladies in court who were Muslim, and one decided that as soon as she would go to court, she was going to be a practicing Muslim, wear a hijab, and the other one decided to wear a niqab. But before the case, they decided they were not practicing and not wearing anything, and the court saw that as a clear attempt to isolate themselves and distance themselves in court. So they almost an opportunity where they could distance themselves, and they decided that suddenly we are Muslim and we are going to wear niqab and we're not going to answer any questions, and there's men in the court. So I think sometimes it can be abused, and maybe in those situations.
Well, like anything where you get with any human beings, people will always try and do what they need to do in order to save themselves. And you know, that is using religion, and that is just one of those things that happens. I think you can't do a general you can't do a general sweep of you know, this is how it is. It's human beings don't work like that.
Well, maybe when we're looking at culture, we should make a push to have lawyers go into communities where there are niqabis and
but this
stuff,
is what I'm saying. Where are the Islamic leaders coming out and talking about this? Big comment's been made. It's in all the newspapers. Who from the Islamic community, the Muslim community, has come out and said, okay, well, this is what we think, or come on then, let's have a discussion about this. I think sometimes we're given lots of opportunity to come forward and we choose not to, which again is like putting the barriers up. And if we want to be part of, you know, a functioning society, then we need to start being a bit more open to discussion, I think.
As you can see, we all have our different views. I think one thing we can agree on is that, alhamdulillah, we're in a country where we can be ourselves, and people are making strides, however slow or fast it is, to accommodate us. We're going to go into a break. I hope you all will join us after the break. Assalamu alaikum.